to our conversation now. And I have with me Dr. Evans Dia. He's a lecturer and a consultant, and he joins us in the studios of Love 99.5. Hi, sir. Good morning.
Good morning, David.
Trust you're well?
Yeah, I'm doing well.
And the family?
Yeah, you're doing so well.
Okay, good to know. How many kids do you have?
So I have 3 boys.
3 boys. So New Year's resolution is a tradition most common in the Western world, but also has found its way into other countries, including Ghana. It is when a person resolves to continue good practices, change undesired traits or behavior, accomplish a personal goal, or improve their life at the start of a new year. That's what New Year's resolutions are all about. And I'm sure that some people have made their New Year's resolutions already. I'm even sure that as you listen to me, maybe you have made your resolutions for the year 2022 already. Now, although many people will not be able to see through their New Year's resolution, it's still a good idea with plenty of positive effects as it focuses on self-development and self-improvement. So you want to improve yourself, you want to develop yourself, well, New Year's resolutions helps. But others don't believe in New Year's resolutions. Others simply don't believe in them. You heard Leo say his bits earlier, and I don't know about you, but do you believe in New Year's resolutions? Do you believe in them or you don't believe in them? What's your take on New Year's resolutions? Yes, I say, I know he's with TBC. You've heard from Pastor Joy Obing of the Miracle Man Church. Dr. Evans Via is a lecturer and a consultant. He's also with us in the studios of Love 99.5. Before I'm asking a major question, you've heard from the two. Is there anything you've deduced so far that you want to comment on?
Yeah, so actually, I like the perspectives where both of them actually coming from. And the angle, I always tell people that when it comes to New Year resolution, whatever people think of it is actually right for them. So those who believe in it and those who do not believe in it is actually right for them. You made a statement that what about those who do not know God? Scripture makes it clear. God causes it to rain both on the righteous and on the righteous. So as a matter of fact, whether you actually believe that God will help you or not, and you put certain principles to bear, it would happen. But 3 things I want to quickly say. When it comes to New Year resolution, there are 3 main aspects we need to look at. The first part is the plan itself. So when it comes to the plan, like Kofi mentioned, there are things that we've already planned and we are working on it. So there are existing plans and actions that we are doing. And there are also new plans that we are putting in place. We need to acknowledge the 2. The next part of it is what strategy are we using to actually achieve these plans? So there's what we call strategic plan, and now a new concept called strategy in motion. So strategic plan is having a very long-term vision and plan for things. But strategy in motion is the agility and the flexibility to adapt. For example, we had a force majeure like COVID-19 and the rest, where quickly people can adapt to it. And then the last component of it is the commitment and the discipline towards this New Year resolution. So whenever I talk to people, I tell them that first and foremost, the notion of time tells us that time is actually non-renewable. 2021 will never happen. We will never see it. Yesterday you called me, that moment would never happen. So people need to understand the concept of time and opportunity. Scripture makes it clear. The race is not to the swift, nor the battle to the strong, nor bread to the eater, but time and chance. These 2 things apply to us all. So if you don't understand the notion that this time that I have today, I would never have, that is the reason why New Year resolution is important, because 2022 is never going to happen. So the way...
2021 or 2022?
No, we are in 2022 now. So it's never going to happen again. So literally, this first is gone. No matter what we do, is gone. So we are having the resolution not because we just need to have it. We need to have a better approach towards what we are doing. So people need to approach New Year resolution with 2 aspects. What am I already doing? How can I do it better? What are the new things that I can do, the opportunities that I'm seeing in 2022? And then the second one is the strategy. How am I actually approaching this? And then the commitment and the discipline. It's all about tenacity. There are so many people today. I do financial plan for 5 years and 10 years, and they think, oh, how is that possible? So you give them a plan, and it will take them 5-10 years. They do 1 year, and then they stop. So this is my new book that I launched. I brought it here, Intentional Wealth. The reason is that I tell people wealth is possible. And people think, oh no, you need to do cocaine, you need to be corrupt and everything. But how is wealth possible? You need to be intentional about it. So we'll come to that.
Yes. Before we talk about how to settle or choose what you would want to improve upon in terms of their resolutions. You made mention of something that, listen, if somebody believes in it, good for the person.
Yes.
If somebody does not believe in it, good for the person. But if somebody does not believe in resolutions or New Year's resolutions, how does that person live a life? How does that person do well? Because when you have that plan and you're committed to it, then you know what goals you have set for yourself and you're working at it.
Yes.
But if you're living a life where you don't have any such plan, how are they able to cope? How are they able to do well?
So this is what I tell people. In strategy, we need to accept that there are various perspectives to life. Some people believe in logical things. Everything has to be logical from A to B to C. That's how they reason. Some people approach matters as it happens. It's also not wrong. So those who do not believe in New Year resolutions can still be successful if the approach to life, they have a better understanding of it. So some people may not write it down. Some people may not have a tall list of things, but they have a guide, they have an approach, and that works for them. And that is a concept that I keep telling people. So we don't need to have a one-size-fits-all approach where everybody needs to write it down, do this. No, people need to understand my situation, my context, and how it applies. And that's a problem we have in Africa.
But is it also possible that there are people who do not have any at all?
It is still, it could also not be bad.
Not having any plan whatsoever at all?
It could also not be bad. Not having a plan, not having a plan at all is actually not bad. And this, and I'm explaining, it's controversial. I'm trying to pick it from different angles. If you pick the likes of Elon Musk and those guys, they want to act on spontaneity. They want to be spontaneous. They want to be in action all the time. So these people have what we call a general guiding principle. He has an ultimate vision, not a plan. This is where I want to be. These are the things I would have to do. But I don't need to put myself in a box that today I get up, I do this, I know exactly what I want to do. It may not apply to everybody, but to some people. And these are the people, there's a quadrant I put these kind of people. One of them is the dreamers. If you pick these artists and musicians and stuff, the way they do things might not necessarily be like somebody working in a corporate world. They are in creative industry. So sometimes instead of the person telling in the morning, I'll do this, I'll do whatever, they can have their own morning rituals or something totally different from the average person. So that's the reason why I'm saying that whenever even we are preaching as men of God and stuff, we need to understand the different types of audience that we are having. And we do not need to box everybody into one particular thing. I'll be honest with you, I've worked with some creative artists, and I tell you, their New Year resolution is that I want to hit this mileage. That is all. How they'll get there, it comes by inspiration, creativity, and they need a good manager. So those people may not have a plan, but they'll need someone around them to guide them and put plans for them.
In case you just joined as well, thank you very much for tuning in. This is Love 99.5. You're listening to Love in the Morning. My name is David Akwete, and I've got Pastor Obed Joy Obeng of the Miracle Man at Church, and of course Prayer Line with us, with me in the series actually. I also have Dr. Evans Dia. Now he's a lecturer and a consultant, and so do I have Professor Sianua. He's with the TUC. And we're talking about the New Year's resolutions. I don't know whether you put one together already, but it's something that many people do at the beginning of the year. Some people sit down and say, well, I want to stop this, I want to do this, I want to go here, I want to go there, I want to improve upon this. All right, so let me come to you, Dr. Dia, with the same question though.
Okay.
And I'm trying to envisage the minds of my listeners, because a lot of them would have different things that they would want to see an improvement, in terms of their lives in the year 2022. But it's not everything that you'd have to make a resolution on and say, well, this is what my focus is on, and this is what I want to achieve. So how do you settle? How do you choose resolutions that you need to work on them?
So the first and most important thing I keep telling people is that if you don't know exactly where you are going, then any place is a destination. So let's assume that I'm heading towards Kenya. I don't know that it's towards the south, and I'm heading towards Adum. No matter all the efforts that I'm putting, I'm lost. So people need to first and foremost determine these two things. And I agree with my brother. What do you want to really be? And where do you want to be? These two things, we need to be clear on them. It can be very long term, it can be medium term, it can be short. But if you don't answer that then you would even have a rock in front of you, which is gold. But because you don't know how gold is like when it's not refined, you throw it away. So people need to identify exactly what they want to do, where they want to be. Once you have that, then you need to come back to that question that Kofi was talking about. Why do I want to become maybe a chartered accountant? Why do I want to become a medical doctor? Why do I want to do this?
Why do I want to lose weight?
Yes, why do I want to lose weight?
Why do I want to further my education? Why do I want to marry?
Exactly.
Because it's somebody's resolution to get married anyway.
Exactly.
So you ask yourself the why, and then the what comes in as to how you can get that.
Exactly. Because if your why is not so strong, then that is where people have the problem with the commitment.
Is that to suggest that there are some things that should not be a part of your resolution because they are beyond you, they are not attainable, so forget about them?
It could be true. It's not emphatic. Because first and foremost, if we come to the goal setting itself, I like to tell people this basic thing about SMART goal setting, where it has to be specific. So the real problem with most people is that they are not specific with their goal setting. M is measurable. They set goals that they cannot measure. So, for example, you said that you want to lose weight, and then you put in 2 weeks, I want to lose weight. Though it's measurable there, then we come to the A, which is attainable. It's not attainable because in 2 weeks you end up fasting yourself and killing yourself. It has to be realistic and it has to be time bound. So people need to understand that goal setting has to be a smart goal setting that you're doing. Now, for most people, the first thing that I want to tell them when they are trying to set their goals, they are trying to make it happen, is that we need to be very honest with ourselves. There is a problem with over comparing ourselves with other people. I'll be honest with you, and I share this personal life experience. When I came back to Ghana, so I worked with SG, I was in Paris, Morocco, then I came back. And when I came back, I was not using a car. My mates, my friends were all using a car. I didn't see why I should use a car because in my plans, I wanted to get more money than to own a car. So I decided to buy taxis and buy trotters, and I was working. Because when I have assets that are income generating, then in that case it's good for me. If I buy a car at that time, it means that I'm spending money on it, it's not bringing any money to me. But the problem with so many people is that, especially in Ghana, car makes people look successful. So people are doing things, that's what I'm talking about the why. People do things not because they actually want it, but because of societal pressure and other things that are coming with it. So what I'm trying to say here is that everybody trying to do a New Year resolution, first, you need to be very honest with yourself. Your potential is not your actual. The fact that you seem to be somebody who has a lot of potential, you can grow. Myself, I know my potential, but I know maybe it will take me 10 years, 15 years. You need to be patient and build towards it. You don't have to. 2022, you cannot achieve it. If you want to be a medical doctor, it's 6 years. No matter the faith you have, you go to Pastor Obed, he prays for you. You cannot become a medical doctor in 1 year. So once we have to be honest with ourselves and accept the realities around us, then we can make meaningful goals.
But again, Dr. Diaz, you and I know that is so obvious, it's so clear that there are some things that indeed are specific, measurable, and attainable. And yet you set yourself to it and you don't attain it, you don't achieve it. You know you can easily do this. I mean, for example, you take alcohol. You want to stop taking alcohol because you know that somebody you know got some kidney problems out of drinking alcohol, and so you want to stop drinking alcohol. And this is specific. This is measurable. This is attainable. But you make this resolution last year, 2021. 6 months on, you're still drinking alcohol. You want to lose weight, and you know the kind of junk food you're eating, and you need to do away with the junk food, concentrating on exercising, and yet you're not doing away with the junk food. 6 months on, these are measurable. These are specific, these are attainable. Yet, so how do you go about it?
The real problem is the goal checkers. People they set the goal smart, but they don't have goal checkers, and that is where we come to accountability and support systems. You are struggling with the alcohol because you are doing it all by yourself. So with Pastor Obed, the first thing as a Christian is God.
That's right.
Then we need brothers. For those who don't believe in God, we need accountability system or support system. Sometimes the reason why we go through what we go through, if you look at young people who struggle with fornication and other stuff, they keep their problems to themselves.
That's right.
Once they open up and they confess and they share with people, they are able to do it. So in your goals, you always need a partner. If you want to go fast, it's an African proverb, go alone. But if you want to go far, go with somebody. So the real thing with goal checkers is that you need to find a system.
But before I come to you, Kofi, sorry, Sandra, let me stay with you, Dr. Evans. Yeah. So when you set the goals for yourself, the resolution. So somebody woke up 1st January 2022 and said, okay, fine, I'm going to stop watching pornography, or I'm going to stop chasing after women, or I'm going to stop drinking alcohol, or I'm going to take my studies more seriously. I mean, they start saying things. I'm going to save much more this year than I did last year. Last year I wanted to save, I couldn't save and all. At what point in time in the year you say, okay, so let me have an assessment and see how well I'm doing?
Okay, so actually there is the quarterly review, the daily review, weekly, everything. But the best form of assessment is actually based on the measure or the indicators, what we call KPIs, that you set for yourself. So there are certain things that you would have to do it weekly, and I'm going to give a very simple example. If you are a parent and you say that you want to spend more time with your kids, you can't wait for 6 months to do that. You can't wait for 1 year to do that. This is something that you need to check yourself weekly. Am I actually spending more time with my kids? Am I making that thing happen? If you are someone who, for maybe you set a goal that you want to take alcohol, you want to stop smoking weed and stuff, normally the first month is quite easy. Second month sometimes. It's actually the third, the fourth, and the rest. So the most important way is to understand the measures you put in place from the beginning. And based on that, you set the assessment periods for yourself. The second thing is that you need to identify the enablers, or what we refer as triggers. What is actually happening with so many people is that they don't know when they are falling back into the enabling environment, and that we call it nature and nurture. What actually happens is that your nature for a long time has been addiction to pornography. It's been your nature. It's now part of you. And this nature was once not part of you. It's your nature that has brought that nature. Now you are trying to use your nature, your environment, to take that thing away. So what you need to do is that at what point am I really sure I'm distant enough from this enabling environment or these triggers that I have for me? So what actually happens here is that if you pick the alcohol, the smoking weed, the fornication and everything, the very moment you realize you are quite far from it, that is where you need to be very careful. This is what actually happens to people. When they think they've achieved it, they are there, they begin to lose their guard. That is the most dangerous part.
Complacency sets in.
Exactly. So at that point, the very moment you think you are at the top of your game, that is where you can easily fall, because the man who's at the top of the mountain falls faster than the one who is down there. So what you need to do as part of it is that once you're even achieving it, that is when you need to be more accountable. You need to do exactly more assessment, and you need to look at what you can put in to become
When
better.
you realize, you do the assessment and you realize actually you are not really achieving it, you are not close to it, what do you do?
It's actually the best moment for me. I prefer when I'm failing and I'm not achieving, it means I actually have accepted that I'm not doing it. Then I know exactly what to do. When you find yourself in a pseudo situation where you feel like you're achieving but you're actually not achieving, you begin to feel complacent, you think you're achieving. But when you are not doing it, you know it easily, and then you can put a solution to it. So for those who struggle with it, yours is even the best position, because at that moment you know that this very thing I put myself, I'm not doing it. And that very moment, you know exactly what to do. So once you are not achieving it, you go back to the drawing board. How do you do? Because I keep telling people, Ghana here, we have a problem with counselors and dealing. We've made even our pastors only spiritual people.
Sure.
We've made, life is not all about, it has spiritual laws. They are physical laws.
Sure.
Force of gravity. Whether I am a Christian or not, if I fall from the, it's a principle out. So you die. So what exactly? What we need to do, and it's very, very important, is that we need to have people, and our marriages are failing today.
Sure.
Because what is counseling that we do even in marriage? The counseling is done before the marriage. But the real counseling is actually during the marriage. That's when we need it, because nobody came in as a married person. We are all new people. We are, it's like, so what we need to do is that we need to go back to the drawing board, and then we need to talk to people who can help us too.
And talking about the marriage thing, that's the only institution where you're given a certificate before you leave. All right, so yeah.
Okay, so I think I'll share something that I think I put on the Facebook on becoming versus getting. So most people, our focus is more about getting the certificate, getting the money, rather than focusing on becoming. Albert Einstein said something that we should focus on becoming men of value than people of success. What is actually happening to so many people is that we want to show off, want to have things to tell people that we've achieved this. So with time, we are not people who have the real. So the major value in life is not what you get, but it's about what you become. Our focus should be more on becoming a man of value and less of getting, that is becoming a man of success. In becoming, you focus on being more valuable, and in getting, you tend to seek value from things. In the first, you are a dispenser of value. In the latter, you are a consumer of value. In becoming, you have more power on your worth, determination, and in the latter, your worth is only on your wealth. In becoming, your worth is a resultant of your value creation as a person from your worth, while in getting, your wealth is only a resultant of your value usage from other things. So therefore, most of us should focus on becoming. And that is, at that point, you even determine your salary. You determine how much you are worth and all that. So people should focus on character. People should focus on integrity. People should focus on what they are building themselves. Beyond the certificate, you come and you have a PhD, you have all this, but yet when you talk, we don't see the value. It becomes just certificate. It's the personality, the person behind all that you are getting. That is the most important thing.
So this one, I'd like to say thank you to you.